Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and I want to talk about today a topic that I have brought up a lot on my stream. Just it's been on my mind for a very long time, for like a couple of years now, with regards to Hearthstone. It's like, for me, it's the greatest what if in the history of Hearthstone, because I feel like there's something that happened in the game that just changed the complete direction of where Hearthstone has gone. A lot of complaints have been recently that the game has gotten too fast, the power creep has gotten out of control. Every expansion, it feels like the game breaks, they push it further and further and further, and now we're at a point where Wild is like unrecognizable because of just the quest lines, the power level of that, just making things ridiculous there. Even like Standard, you're having games over by turn 6, 7, 8 consistently. The game has never been more like powerful and fast and crazy than before. But why has it got to this point? What happened that we have evolved to this point? Has it always been this ridiculous power creep level? And the greatest what if for me is the what if Rastakhan's Rumble wasn't the biggest failure of expansion of all time? What if that was actually a good expansion? What if the Hearthstone devs had stayed on path, on the flight path they had set and didn't abort? Basically what I'm saying is, what if after Rastakhan's Rumble, we didn't start power creeping the game immediately? So we're in the menu right now. We're in the menu because I feel like to best illustrate what I'm talking about, we just go through what I'm talking about. So if you're not aware of what Rastakhan's Rumble is, it's an expansion that came out right before Rise of Shadows. It was like at the tail end of a standard expansion, and the prior year had seen Kobolds and Catacombs and the Frozen Throne both come out. And the Frozen Throne had Death Knights. It had Death Knights, and this changed the landscape of the game. Like, hero cards were incredibly powerful. They like kind of warped the entire meta, their entire run. They're just awesome, crazy good cards for most classes. There were the exceptions like Thrall, but it just changed things up so much, and they were so powerful. And then you just had Kobolds in general, which had just incredible cards, like Warlock in particular. You look at the Q block package, all that, but you had the legendary weapons in particular, like Skull of the Minar, you had Twig, you had Rockdalar, Aluneth, Valinir, that card's terrible, Dragon Soul, like Kingsbane, Rune Spear is pretty awful, but you had some of the most impactful cards ever. There was just the insane level of power level of these cards, just brought Hearthstone to a new level we had never seen. And the devs kind of wanted to scale it back. They're like, we've pushed it maybe a little bit too far. So we progressed, and the Witchwood, Boomsday, and Rastakhan's Rumble all scaled the power level back. Like with the Witchwood, outside of, we got Baku here, Baku and Gen. Outside of those two cards, the power level was a lot less. It was not nearly as impactful. That continued with Boomsday, with like the main prominent card being like, you had like Mecha'thun, you had Dr. Boom, and you did have the legendary spells, but still nothing really hit that power level, and it was still, didn't change things up too much. And then Rastakhan's Rumble happened, and the power level of this expansion was lower than any expansion in the last 2 years, and it made very little impact. And from what I could tell, especially based like Ixar's comments all the time, it didn't sell particularly well. It didn't go well. And what they were trying to accomplish by having this entire year of diminished, less powerful cards, is that when the Frozen Throne, when Kobolds and Catacombs would rotate right after Rastakhan's Rumble, this lower power level would be constant throughout the expansions remaining in the game. We would have seen Rastakhan's Rumble not have to compete against Kobold's cards, not have to compete against Frozen Throne cards, but instead they kind of panicked. Because Rastakhan's didn't do well, they released Rise of Shadows. And the Rise of Shadows is one of the most powerful expansions ever. They went the other way. They went back to premium stats with minions, incredible spells. We had power creep upon power creep with, like, just for an example, a Blastmaster Boom compared to a regular Dr. Boom. We had the Bomb Warrior stuff, Omega Devastator. All of these insanely powerful cards that we hadn't seen the power level in over a year. And it just continued. Old Doom, again, stepped things up. We had the quests that were very powerful. And then it got insanely busted with Descent of Dragons, where you had the Galakron cards, just ridiculously powerful. Pretty much all of them, like Galakron Shaman basically broke the game. Rogue was nerfed, Galakron Priest was good later on. You had the broken dragons, you had like Dragon Queen, and all of these ridiculous broken cards. The power level went through the roof because Rastakhan's Rumble, it kind of scared them. It kind of terrified them. And that's the path we've been on. And every time we've talked about power creep, whenever we've talked about the power level being too high in an AMA, the example is always brought up of we don't want another Rastakhan's Rumble. What if Rastakhan's Rumble was actually the correct choice? What if it had the chance to breathe? But it will never know because we can't constantly go down this road. Every expansion has to outdo the other one now. You get Skullomance. You have Skullomance, one of the most broken expansions ever. Then we go to Dark Moon Fair, even more crazy stuff. The Barons. I would say maybe the Barons scaled it back a tiny bit, and then we went to Stormwind with the quest lines that are the most powerful and broken cards in Hearthstone history. They're so insanely powerful that they completely warp and dominate Wild. Wild, which has like 7 years worth of expansions. Basically, almost all of them are irrelevant because of these quests, because of the Demon Seed, because of, you know, like cards like the Mage Quest or whatever. It's just, the power level has gotten to this point where it's like, where are they going to go? Where is it going to keep going? They have to outdo themselves because they don't want another Rastakhan's Rumble. They don't want another expansion that won't tickle the fancy of its player base. And I don't know, like I've heard Ixar talk about a mass nerfing. They're thinking about next standard year doing a mass nerfing. And to me, that's kind of what Rastakhan's Rumble, the Witchwood, and Boomsday that year were kind of already doing. They were doing it naturally. They were trying to scale things back. They got scared by bad sales, and well, we're in this position. And from my honest belief, if you look at Rastakhan's Rumble, do you think, like, is it really that bad of an expansion? Like, you look class by class, the card design is there. There is some interesting stuff. The spirits were all interesting, but they weren't at the power level of other cards. You had really cool cards like Gonk, but again, not at the power level of other cards from before. And then the cards that came out after, you know, but you had cool cards like Halazi that saw some play. You had hero cards like Zul'jin, and there was some interesting stuff that just never got the time of day to really breathe. It just never really happened. And, you know, a couple of cards popped into some supporting decks over the years, like the Shirvala archetype, the OTK Paladin was a thing that was a success out of this expansion, but Priest basically utilized mass hysteria and I guess grave horror as well. And, you know, Rogue Raiding Party was nuts for aggro, and you know, all these cards. I actually think the design of the set is fantastic. Like Zentimo, really cool legendary. Kragwa, really cool legendary. Again, like I said, the spirits were all very interesting. You had like really cool discard synergies with this Taunt Lifesteal package, and Soul Warden never really saw the light of day. You also have Hyreek the Bad. That's pretty awful, but you see what I mean, right? Like the creativity, the card design was there for this expansion. The power level wasn't, but if it had time to breathe in the game, you know, let Rastakhan's Rumble maybe actually have time to be Rastakhan's Rumble. I wonder what Hearthstone would look like today. I think it would be a very different game, but maybe it wouldn't have worked. Maybe this expansion just sucked in general, and no matter how low the power level got, this wouldn't have been that great an expansion. But overall, I honestly wish we could have seen what Rastakhan's Rumble, what this expansion really could have been. And for me, that's why it's the greatest what if in Hearthstone history. So let me know what you think, what your thoughts are on the comments below. If you wish that they had scaled back the power level, let Rastakhan's breathe, or if you're happy with the way the game has gone over the past few years. And I think there's merits to both sides of that argument. So let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.